A ballerina's perspective, from performing with New York City Ballet and Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to publishing poetry books and mentoring kids and teens. Join us in a weekly discussion with experts to gain mental health clarity and achieve growth in moral consciousness. Give our show a 5 stars, comment, share, and come along for the ride. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast. Today, my guest is a powerhouse of transformation, Debbie Dobbins, also known as the Queen of Magic. She has lived many lives: millionaire businesswoman, cancer thriver, spiritual teacher, and now best-selling author of Your Inner Billionaire. Her story is not just inspiring, it's proof of what's possible when women reclaim their power. After finding herself broke, sick, and burned out from a life that looked successful on the outside, Debbie rewrote the script using feminine energy, universal law, and fierce personal responsibility. She rebuilt her wealth and discovered a deeper, more meaningful prosperity along the way. Now she helps other conscious women, especially those in their second act, do the same. Whether they want to launch a business, increase their income, or finally feel free in their bodies and bank accounts. Debbie's message is simple: you are not too late, you are not too much, you are right on time. And today we will be talking about her book, Your Inner Billionaire, and how it's shaking up the way we think about money, worth, and success. So get ready for some truth bombs, some heart wisdom, and a whole lot of permission to shine. Wow, what a beautiful journey you went through. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you. I'm so excited because you're right in alignment, and I'm all about alignment and frequency about everything that I teach. So I know we're just going to be in a love fest here.
Yes, I love the whole idea of alignment, especially when it comes to how you mentioned permission. I think that root word is so crucial for everybody. I think especially women, the divine feminine, when she starts awakening and realizes that she's been sleeping most of her life in adulthood, is such a kind of like a huge shakeup, because we're always thinking as women, we go through periods of experiences, and sometimes the negative ones, they kind of teach us to dim our light, or if somebody doesn't understand us in a relationship or friendship, they might be like, oh, you're too much, you're not, I don't understand you. And then you start to, doubt yourself, because maybe you are coming up with such profound insight and your soul is asking questions and it's curious about life. And that's a beautiful thing. That means you're actually on the path to awakening and learning. And when somebody who's supposed to be your friend puts you down, you kind of start to question, like, do I even have permission to be myself? So I love
Yeah.
that. I love that awareness.
Yeah. That's such a key component, as you said, for women, because it's been 2000 plus years that we've had this matriarchal thing going on, which I'm not here to beat up men or to embellish women, because it's a masculine and feminine energy. But the masculine energy has just been the overriding 100% domination. And that is made up of hustle, analytical, right? Just do it, and not having a lot of communication. And when we begin to look at our feminine energies, which are intuition and communication and connection and flow, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a whole different dynamic. And I love the idea. I did this on purpose with the book title, calling it Your Inner Billionaire, because I knew that that would stir something up in people, right? I mean, it's always about really pushing whatever's going on with our belief systems and that whole notion, because honestly, anybody can be a millionaire at this point. I mean, there's so many of them. But the idea of being a billionaire, and not necessarily in your financial bank account, but being a billionaire within, and that's what women don't realize, and they haven't embraced enough, because it's there for us. We all have an inner billionaire. But when we embrace that, and that is that power within us, we don't really even need permission at that point. But it starts with that step of other women giving us permission to be our authentic selves. And you are so right about, we sometimes it's our friends, literally those sacred beings that we feel like are in our life, that shame us worse than anything we can do to ourselves or men have done. So I'm on this warpath, if you will, to get women to stop shaming other women, right? We have to stop comparing ourselves to one another, embrace our authentic self, and begin to know that this money thing, I mean, it's just a made up story. Like literally, the money itself, it's just pieces of paper and it's digits on a screen and it's transferring back and forth. And if that whole modality of work hard, work hard, work hard were the thing that money was responding to, there's lots of people out there that have worked so hard in their lives. They should be million billionaires, right? That's not what money responds to, and that's not what we as women are responding to. It's the frequency. So if we get in alignment with our own frequency, we're going to bring more of that into our experience, including those women that are resonating at that same frequency, because sometimes we're still bringing in women into our experience that are operating in a frequency that we have let go of, but we still have an aura of that around us. So I think it's really key, as you said, to start giving each other permission to be authentic. And we're not too much. I mean, I've been told many times in my life, I am way too much. And I'm like, that's nice. And I have dimmed my light. I have pushed it down. And I recently married myself in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And in my vows, I vowed I would not abandon myself ever again. And I think that that's what we do as women. We hear something or somebody tells us something or we believe something and we abandon who we are and our real strength and power, which is this inside feminine energy.
That's beautiful. That's so true. And connecting wealth to worth, it's such an interesting dynamic as well, because so often that's how women are thinking based on their worth, they have to align to wealth. And then when they're thinking through a trauma perspective, through like a trauma lens, and their fight or flight response is going
Yeah.
crazy, it's like they feel like they have no worth if their wealth is not whatever their expectations are. That's also an interesting concept, because when it comes to like ancestral timelines, there's a survival aspect about wealth, and that became your worth because that's all that
Hmm.
was in the environment for you. And I think now a lot
Right.
of men and women are relearning that their worth is within themselves, not
Yeah.
connected solely through the external validation. But I think when you do have worth, I feel like you have external validation because you're able to be more rooted in your
Hmm.
values.
Right.
If you're ready to shake off that daily stress, come join us for online beginner adult ballet and yoga classes each week to connect with the flow of movement and the art of ballet into perfect synergy. Come as you are and learn to love your body a little bit more and gain strength and flexibility with each class. All are welcome. Sign up at balletartsmovement@gmail.com. First class free. Televital supports focus, energy, immunity, sleep, recovery, and resilience. Start feeling better today on a cellular level with zeolite, super green juice, micronutrient gut support, and more. Get over 50% off your first order for Televital. Link in the description of the podcast.
And that's the other thing is women, and I don't want to just say exclusively women because I've been corrected by men a lot lately that we have our own problems. And I'm like, okay, we've imprinted both of our masculine and feminine with mm, a little bit of warped idea of what those energies actually do. And so if we begin to recognize that we want to have both men and women a balance, that's why the yin and yang, it's about a balance of this feminine and masculine energy. And then when we do that, we begin to feel that value that comes intrinsically, because money is going to be literally the frequency of fear will repel money faster than anything. So if we're in fear, every time we look at the credit card bill or the bills that are coming in, or, oh my gosh, I can't feed the kids, like that mindset and that belief system and that story that emotionally impacts us because the emotions create the frequency and electromagnetic energy, money is going, holy moly, no. And it's really so simple, yet it's so hard because of our programming. Our programming for decades has been, especially in the Industrial Revolution, it's time for dollars. Like, so if you were to say to a woman, the first thing that I realized really, really early on in working was I could get paid for my value, meaning I always believe that everybody should have a job that's either based on your production, sales, commissions, or be an entrepreneur. That's the height of everything. Because when you do that, then you can begin to declare what your value is. But if you're working for time for dollars, right, which is just going to a job, just over broke, I call it. When you go to a job, it says if you're here for this period of time, and that's back when they used to blow the whistle and time cards, it was trading time for dollars. And so how easily could we lose, all of us, our sense of value and worth, because we've told ourselves now we're worth whatever that hourly wage is, to do whatever that is, and that just 100% turns the light off of everybody. So the first thing we want to begin to do is untether from that idea that our value and worth is attached to time for dollars. And then what is our value? How do we bring and contribute to this world? And there's so many different ways. Each of us is so unique and we have such beautiful gifts, but we're all going to the party holding on to our gift and never showing it to anybody. So part of that process is just beginning to untether from our stories, our money stories, rewriting a new one, and then really claiming our value. And does our value have to be that I'm a billionaire? No. It's that wealth of freedom from having the most incredible relationships and having abundance that comes in the form of money, but it's also in that love aspect of, do I love and do I get love? All of these areas of our lives, they all are connected and intertwined with the money part, because money is just an energy. But if we begin to really examine and look introspectively to our value, we see something entirely different than what we think we believe it is. And that's where we start.
100%. Yes, I love that. And here I see creating a prosperity posse and then the power of having money date. Can you talk a little bit about that? That's so interesting.
I love using a money date. So a lot of people are like, the first time I introduce it, they go, what does that even look like? But imagine this. Imagine that you have a partner, right? And you're just clinging all the time. Like, you're never enough. You never give me enough. You're always, disappointing me. And you're clingy, 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 right? That relationship isn't going to last very long. But that's what we do with money. We're checking all of the ideas around, because money is the most integral part of our lives. We get up in the morning. Okay, we're going to spend money. Maybe we're going to go to Starbucks, or we've got to go, to lunch on a business meeting, or we get up in the morning and we look at the mail and there's all these bills that have to pay. It's just constantly in front of us. So we're having a relationship with money, and money doesn't necessarily say, oh, love me, love me, love me, but it really truly is, because the energy of money is just a relationship. It isn't about the numbers on the screen, it isn't about the paper. It's about this energetic frequency. So that frequency, if we're not having a date with it, just like if we had a partner that we were ignoring, or that we were mad at all the time, or that we weren't appreciating, right? We have to begin to appreciate. And also, most importantly, we need to begin to understand how money works, because money has a way that it works in the world. And most women, especially, and some men, don't even understand how it works. They don't understand investing. They don't understand passive income. They don't understand all of those components. So that means we are going to have a relationship that we don't understand this other person, and they're wanting to explain this to us. So I always share, the first thing we want to do is start having a money date. And that money date is as simple as lighting a candle, maybe you get a glass of wine, and you just look at your overall experience with money. What are my bills looking like? What is my budget looking like? I know these are the fun things that people don't really want to do, but if we don't have these conversations, just like imagine you have a relationship with a partner and they're leaving their underwear on the floor in the bedroom all the time, right? You can either look at that and be angry all the time, or you can say, how do I understand them better? And maybe I'm going to have a conversation, a loving conversation. But if we don't begin to do that with our relationship with money, then we're destined just to repeat the exact same modalities that we've had for the previous years and decades before that. So I love a money date because it's so awkward for people in the beginning. I have to tell you, they're like, I did my first money date. I didn't even know what to do. But other people get dressed up, they get the wine, put on some soft music. And you don't have to have a money date at home. You could go out to a restaurant and have it with yourself. But it's so cool because you begin to look at money differently and appreciate everything that money has ever done for you. That's another thing, is that we're constantly focusing on the lack of it or poverty of it, because that's a mindset. But if we begin to look at how much we appreciate it, then it says, hey, I want to hang around some more and I want to send some more to you. So it's a really fun opportunity for people to begin to look at money and their relationship differently.
I love that. That's so beautifully said. And it's like the feminine plays with the archetype. So it's like you mentioned, some people like to play with money, some people feel awkward about it. It's like when the feminine gets into an archetype and she experiences that and plays around with that, she connects to a deeper part of her authentic nature. And when she's able to fully relax and merge into that presence, I feel like she's like a magnet for all things
Mhm.
abundance, whether it's money, love, relationship, romance, friendship, whatever it may be. I do a lot of guidebooks for archetypes to connect to the women. So there's like the queen, then there's the warrior, and so many women love doing the more masculine ones, but when it comes to the more feminine
Mhm.
ones, it's harder to embrace that because we are, like you mentioned, we're taught to be like masculine and aggressive in the masculine world, but then when you kind of take a step back and merge into your softness and gentleness, like, how do you feel about that? Because you have to kind of accept that part of your feminine nature. And some of us have wounds surrounding the femininity of ourselves. And I think
Mhm.
reconnecting, like you mentioned, to a money date is going to just make you aware of the feminine within you so you can kind of tune into that archetype. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And I love that because the word that I use around that, what you just explained, is being curious. So we've never been given permission to be curious about ourselves. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. This I say that we all got the masculine playbook when we came into the world. Like, here it is. This is how success looks. This is how you do it. I'm almost going to break into song. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, right? And so we've all done that because that was the playbook. And the playbook is being rewritten as we speak. What's really fascinating is I've seen more movement in feminine energy on the arising on the planet in probably the last 10 years, but even more in the past few years. It's accelerating, and it's so beautiful because it's a blend. So even women, in a C-suite situation, they're sitting around in a boardroom, they can, in some places they can feel free, or women-owned companies, to say, this is not feeling right, this is not, my intuition doesn't feel like this is a good move. And the thing is when you go to that masculine playbook, that's not acceptable, it's not allowed, right? Even though you'll hear a cop say, I have a gut feeling about this, right? It's the same thing, it's the exact same, or I have a hunch. But the thing is that we have shamed that as a society or a world.
Unlock your best life with Soul app. Book a holistic wellness experience with a trained guide and start changing your life today with compassion practices, inner healing, food and diet, and so much more. Tap into a healthier and happier life with the number one purposeful living app in the US, the Soul app, link in the description of the podcast. Sanger Daniel's online seminar promoting a positive message of self-healing with bioenergy work together with live seminars and remote coaching. Use code BIO20 for a 20% discount for our audience. Link in the description of the podcast.
That these types of energies are not okay. They certainly don't translate into success. So women just being curious about, as you said, your archetype. And I used to where I am a licensed S Factor teacher, which Sheila Kelly created erotic creature uh, types, right? So we all have, as women, we don't have to be demure, but some are. We can be loud and we can be crazy, but we also have that connection and that communication available to us to go out into the world and actually just change how the world is being right now, because it is once again about connection and communication and intuition. Those are three of the very strong energies that feminine brings, especially to the business environment, if you will, because we all have some sort of occupation. And the fact is if we begin to blend these two, right, balance them out, holy cow, that's like power on steroids right there. But we are still falling back into the playbook and forgetting who we truly are. So it's just a practice.
I love that. That's so true. The playbook is very interesting how it is shifting, how so many people now are becoming entrepreneurs and they're tuning into their gifts so much more now and their talents. They're becoming aware of their insights and their spiritual gifts or physical gifts, whether they are, performer or speaker, whatever it is they're doing. Yeah, I feel like there's so many more people who are becoming activated or awakens and their chakras are aligning and they're feeling more inspired to be their authentic self. And it might feel awkward in the beginning because nobody has given them permission, so to speak, to be that. So it's kind of like there are no rules, there is no map to embrace your true self. You don't even know what, like, how you're going to come across even to yourself. So it is such an interesting journey of intimacy, of figuring out who you are. I think the intimacy
Hmm.
with yourself is also a big part of it, right?
Hmm. And that's so true. Nobody's given us a map. And nobody on this planet got a map, by the way. We might have a playbook, but we don't have a map. And that's my favorite part of having become a wiser woman, is because I'm a recovered control freak, right? You can't imagine me being a control freak, right? But the fact is that I'm a recovering control freak, and what I know is surrender. You surrender to win, but also live in the mystery, right? That's the not having a roadmap. That's not having any kind of map, and I love that so much because I live through my intuition these days, which is a very scary place if you haven't practiced it. Like when you first start, I can't, I gotta hold on. I can't let go. I gotta know what's about to happen around the corner. But I'm telling you, that's the best place. And even talking about a power of attraction and manifesting and all of that, I really do it much more from this feminine energy now of feeling the feelings that I want to feel, as opposed to what I call micromanaging the universe. All right, I'm going to outline exactly how I want this to show up, which works. It does, because I've been doing it for years, but it's so much more congruent and free and it's just juicy and delicious to just live in that mystery and just be open to all the potential and possibilities that are coming into my experience because I feel the way that I choose to feel.
I love that. That is so great. And going back towards the mystery, it's so interesting. I think tomorrow we actually have a full moon. So that is all around like emotions, mystery,
Hmm.
intuition, tapping into that hidden part of ourselves. And I think actually when we are in that space of the void, that's where our true power comes, because it's so annoying when we have to feel isolated temporarily, but I feel like that's where the true growth happens and that's where the
Hmm.
transformation slowly begins.
Yeah. It's so beautiful to be in that space too, because I recently created a quick meditation titled "Everything is in My Favor." So I think what is the most important thing that people can begin to do, especially women, is every day wake up with the affirmation, if you will, because I call it just more of an intention. Affirmations are just, rote. But you set an intention that everything about this day is working in my favor. And if you remind yourself of that all throughout the day, because this is not going to be where rose colored glasses and Pollyanna, and I walk out and every day is just blissful. Oh my gosh, it is so far from that. And yet we are only in charge of one thing, and that's how we react and how we feel emotionally about certain experiences that happen in our life. And so if we just begin to recognize, because anybody that's been on the planet for a few years has a what I call a history or a precedence, that even the bad stuff, right? If we look back on it and now we're away from it for a year or two, then we see that there was opportunity in learning, or it brought us to the place where we are that's now, magnificent and wonderful. Or we are a person that just held on to it, and that's not going to get you where you want to go. But if you wake up every morning, and so the first thing that happens, you say, everything is working in my favor. And the first thing you do is step on the Legos, right? As soon as you get out of bed, that can send somebody into a spiral in 5 seconds about their day. Right? And you get up and you realize you don't have any creamer for the coffee. And then you walk outside and there's a flat tire and it's the kids' audition day, right? I mean, life is going to happen. Life is going to happen. But if I look at it as everything is working in my favor, and all this abundance is constantly coming because that's my favor, then I look at things of, oh, well, I wonder how, and then you start to be curious again. How could this work in my favor? What is about to happen? And live with expectancy. Because part of what I talk about in the book is just live in that expectancy that that good is all around, because it is. It's the only thing that keeps us from it is us, and we push it away a lot.
Podpitch is the first and only software that finds, writes, and sends pitches to podcast hosts from your actual email address. Podpitch will make sure you get podcast bookings, guaranteed. Link in the description of the podcast. ClickFunnels easily build any type of online business and sales funnel in record time, no matter what your product, service, or niche, without any tech design or experience whatsoever. Try the ClickFunnels 14-day free trial. Link in the description of the podcast. Yes, 100%. And that's like you're kind of reprogramming your mind and your thoughts to help you think differently, because our subconscious thoughts are programmed when we're little, and so we have to kind of actively, consciously retrain our minds to think positively, even when we do have a series of unfortunate events, because it's not linear. We have waves of emotions, up and down, roller coaster, especially during full moons. We have that energy of the
Mhm.
moon, the lunar cycle, the lunatics, they come out at that time because it's like the wild energy comes rising up. But if we are rewiring our minds, we'll be able to handle it a little bit more gracefully, hopefully, but also just be aware that the reality
Right.
is we have to accept those waves, because that's just part of the light and dark.
Right. Yes, it is. And instead of resisting that which we say we don't like, we just start to embrace it. And what is that? What is the emotion? I mean, as women, we have a whole different biology kit here. Like it's got some serious stuff going on. And the fact is that we can give birth and we go through menopause and we have these cute little cycles that we go through, and we have to embrace every part of it. So part of what I teach women especially is stop calling part of your experience or your life or your body bad or wrong, or shaming it, because it's all part of this beautiful whole, this magnificent creature that we walk around in. And I've always thought, why would somebody think that a full moon or any cycle of the moon would not impact us? Because if anybody's ever been to the beach, it
Yeah,
affects the surf and the oh, what do you want
the
to call it,
tide, the tide.
the tide. I mean, I lived at the beach, so I'm like the tide. But we're 30, I mean, we're 75% water. So, of course, we're going to be impacted. And that's where we get to be more curious and aware. What's going on? So, why am I feeling maybe a little down? And then also be kind to ourselves. And maybe I talk about being in our various not frequencies, but oh, I'm losing my word. But you go throughout the day. So you got a high moment, you got a low moment, your cycles in your life. Like in some days, you just don't feel like doing email or something content creative on a computer. Listen to your body and your very innate wisdom. Am I supposed to go for a walk? Right? Should I go sit and have a cup of tea? Do I need to just meditate? But we're not listening to ourselves because we're so boxed into the way that we've created our life. And sometimes, if we don't have any ability to make that be moldable and fluid, then we just get into that masculine energy and stay there. So I just actually finished a book called The Time Bender Method, that's I'm going to publish in about a week. That is so key to us really understanding that we have the ability to bend time. We have the ability. And it isn't something, this time or space time continuum. I think it's kind of crazy that we live in this 3D world when we're there's very spiritual beings. We are so powerful from this energy that we have, and we're not using it. We're just going along to get along and, hope I'm not going to make anybody mad. And, oh, babe. It's beautiful, though, when we get to really become curious about what is our body calling us to do at a particular moment.
I love that. I love the curious factor as well. It reminds me, like, here you also have something about navigating the somatic body based
Hmm.
responses to money in order to change your course. So like I grew up dancing ballet and I teach now kids ballet, and there is such a somatic response when we are doing things and connecting to our bodies. We're giving ourselves
Right.
the permission on such a deep, profound level.
Yeah. And the thing is that what I believe that I started listening to Joe Dispenza probably a decade ago, and he talked about, and I just, the first time I heard it, I went, oh my God, that's right. Because we have these emotional bodies and every emotion that we have. So think about how long we've been having emotions from the time that we were trying to walk, right? You fell down on your bum and you got frustrated. Okay. That emotion got downloaded into your body, probably way all the way down to your toes. And every emotion that we had as children, because we have alpha brains that are very receptive at that point, has downloaded into our body. Every emotion has chemicals that get released into our body that have frequencies. So what we've done now, we stopped being 8 and now we're grown-ups, but we go out because our bodies are addicted to feeling that way. So we have to go out and replicate that feeling, even though we say it's not a feeling that we enjoy. And that's the first thing I talk about in the book, is about our money stories, because our money stories are downloaded into our body. We can talk about mindset all we want. It's not where it's located. It's in the body. And even as a, a dance teacher, as a ballet teacher, you know that your body has so much wisdom and it will give you immediate feedback if we're listening. So, what I've taught women is that we have to begin to change how we're standing, how we're moving. I mean, a lot of women show up in the world like this. They're just hunched over because they're trying to play small. So we have to begin to open our bodies somatically and feel the energy that we really want replicated in our lives by that 3D world that we see out there. And it's so magnificent when people, and women especially, get to see the shift not only in their beliefs, but in their emotional body, because they can release it. So, dance and yoga and feminine movement and just taking a walk around the park will allow us to begin to untether some of those constricted beliefs that are just so hardwired, not only in our brains, but in our bodies. So I'm a big proponent of somatic anything, right? Breathing, movement. It's where we unlock. the secrets, because that's where they're all held. So yeah, I love that whole idea.
Yes, yeah, it's so amazing. I remember even in a yoga class, a girl was doing like a position, and she started to cry because she felt
Yes,
like just the release happens naturally when we're giving ourselves that space. It's so amazing how our bodies, they do hold pent up energy, and it's our job to kind of become aware of the releasing process, because we don't even know
right,
sometimes what we're holding on to. It's like,
right, right. And especially hips, women hold so much of their emotions in their hips because, that's where we carry life. And it's just amazing. Even simple little um, stretching exercises with hips. I've seen the same thing with women, whether it be my feminine movement, yoga, or just moving in a gym. If they're opening up that vortex, it's actually magical because you're releasing that energy. It's so stuck in our bodies. So imagine all of the years that we practiced our money stories, right? That because it's abundance. It's just not about money. It's about abundance, about worthiness. So if we can begin to open up those channels, right? All of your chakras and all of your hips. And, I mean, we could go on and talk about all of them, but it's just some simple things of even sitting up straight because so many people have played so small, especially women, that if we begin like Amy Purdy, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget her last name. She did a YouTube channel 2 decades ago that I love, where she talks about power stances. I mean, even something as simple as this for women to do while they're standing or sitting, it changes the whole dynamic of your body. And do an affirmation while you're doing that.
yeah.
It's like, and it's incredible. But we don't do the little things because we think, oh, those aren't going to do anything. It's the little things that get you on the path that compound the interest to an investment in you.
100%. I always start with our dance classes, and I make sure all the kids even speak an affirmation before we start dancing so they can feel the awareness, because in dance we're not talking, we're just connecting to our body, but it's so important to also connect with words and feel your body through the words. And even when there are no words, that's a little challenge, so you have to be so in tune, and it's actually teaching you to be even more in tune with your body when there are no words. So it's so
Hmm.
beautiful. You're able to move energy throughout your body to shift things. It's so intricate and it's so deep. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so fabulous for women, as you just said, to really connect with their body because there's so many people, humans on this planet that don't have any body awareness about anything that's happening to them, literally. And it's played out in this chronic disease culture that we live in. But if people began to become aware just of this vehicle that we walk around in, it's got all the information that we need. It's a biofeedback loop, but we've turned it off to the point where we are numbing ourselves through so many things, whether we want to call it an addictive behavior. I mean, doom scrolling's an addiction, television's an addiction, sex is an addiction, everything. But it's not the addiction part of it, it's the avoidance, it's the numbing of connecting with ourselves. And it's this body that's wanting, praying, begging us to connect with. And when we start to do that, I'm telling you, magic happens. And I know you've seen it with those kids because that's what's so beautiful, to give some children this newness of moving, because we are becoming a society that's addicted to screens, the kids. And so just having them be in this environment where they can connect with their bodies and then say an affirmation or an intention, and that sound, what's even more sensational, and I know that sound vibration is going to be the next healing modality. That's how I healed myself when I was diagnosed with cancer. And it is so profound, but just the idea that when we speak, we are resonating with that energy and that frequency in our whole body. So we get locked up in our head a lot by thinking and overanalyzing. And believe me, I tell people that's the worst place you could be, is in your head. But when you say things and you declare them, you're going to do an affirmation, declare it, because that is the power, but that power resonates in our body and the frequency around us. And then the universe just conspires to create it.
Exactly. And let's just close with this question because I love it. What is one question we can ask ourselves daily that will radically shift our relationship with wealth?
The question that I share with everybody that I start this journey with is, what is your relationship right now with money? And then write it out as if it were a partner, a loved one. Um, it could be just a family member if you can't relate to it from that perspective. But if you begin to write down exactly what your relationship with money is, you will then begin to become aware of how you're seeing it, how you're treating it, and then, get my book. You can go to my website, thedebbiedobbins.com, and get my book for free. Because if you get that book, it is a how-to, it is an activation. Literally, it will activate that inner billionaire to be revealed in all of its glory. And you have to start. So the first thing that is the beginning is just really begin to be curious about your relationship with money. Write down all your beliefs, like money is the root of all evil, or it doesn't work for me, or I'll never be rich. Or I had a gardener one day recently, and I paid him a lot of money for what he was doing, but he says, I've been broke my whole life. And I said, well, that's how you're going to stay, because that's a pretty strong affirmation. So really begin to look at our language around money, because it will come up when you ask that question. What is my relationship with money? What do I constantly say about money? Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow, what a beautiful, insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Debbie, for coming on the podcast. It was so lovely
Thank
to
you.
hear your advice and your guidance to people who are on the journey of growth and self awareness. I think it's so crucial for women and even men to reconnect to their self worth
Hmm.
and see that as their most important aspect of wealth. So, thank you so much again for sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it was just such a pleasure. Like I said, I just love talking to like-minded women because we always have a love fest.
Yes, 100%. And where can people connect with you and see all of your content and get your books?
You can go to my website, thedebbiedobbins.com. So the
Okay,
Debbiedobbins.com. And they can download the book for free. And there's also a way to get involved with my Abundance Tribe of Women and a couple of other things on there. But that's the best place to start, because there's all kinds of freebies on there and fun things that they can do.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you.